card game, not even only in Hearthstone, in general, dealing damage is like a burn strategy, and this is really easy to to make a deck. And if your opponent doesn't have the exact answers for that, he just loses like super fast.
Sure.
So
So we
hunters
can
still be
see
very powerful.
we can see here that Hyped is opening up on the Rogue, while RDU is opening on the Druid, and the Neutron and Piloted Shredder there give you an indication that Hyped is still playing that the Mech Rogue yesterday, and he's been playing in tournaments and things, so we can see that the being kept. And Innervate in the hand for RDU though is always welcome.
Yeah, and as we don't know if RDU will predict that this will be the Mech Mage, so maybe he will change his decision to innervate Spectral Knight if he sees the Neutron. But he doesn't have any other cards to play, so he has to play the Spectral Knight actually.
Sure, yeah, he's gonna go ahead and innervate and coin the Spectral Knight. He doesn't really have any other play. Double Force of Nature in the hand, so you can see this is probably a double combo Druid. Not something you really want to see in your hand on turn 2. 2 copies of Force of Nature.
Yeah, that's what we were talking before that, right? When we were discussing Ram Druid and Combo Druid, and having 2 Force of Natures in your opening hand is just plain awful.
You see the Trade Prince Gallywix there for Hype. That's a card that's seeing a lot of play in Neuro Rogue archetypes, mostly just because of, it does have an effect and it can really help you out with spells, but also just being a 5/8 for 6 mana is a very efficient minion.
It's especially efficient against Druid, which has to deal the 8 points of damage to deal with that. And if not, then you're being traded to your opponent. So it's really a hard creature to Druid.
You can see the SI7 and the Piloted Shredder coming down for the Rogue, and the Rogue does have the Mech Warper coming into hand as well. For turn 5, he's going to go easily be a Mech Warper Piloted Shredder turn.
Well, we'll have to see what are few options. He can just play Wild Growth to play Force of Nature next turn to help him clear the board, or he can play Swipe this turn. And this is a really tough situation. I think Wild Growthing here is the only option when you can Wild Growth at all. It's turn 4 or turn 5. So I would go with Wild Growth here. Yeah. And now it's the question just do you trade or do you ignore the stuff?
I think you probably trade, and yeah, you trade the 3/3. Don't want to pop the Pilot Shredder and leave 2 minions on board when you're trading. I think you're right that playing the Wild Growth there was probably the optimal play. It's just not a great board for swiping at all. But I think we are going to see the Mech Warper Pilot Shredder, instant Mech Warper value, and actually it's one of the big advantages of the Mech Warper is playing it with something like a Pilot Shredder on turn 5 is a really great tempo play to establish a board.
For sure. That's definitely true. I'm watching that Micro Machine in in Hyped hands, in Hyped's hand, and I'm wondering how good is this? Like I never seen that in a competitive tournament, so I'm really wondering.
That's not what Hyped would have wanted off that Pilot Shredder.
That's true.
Looks like it's going to be a Force of Nature here, and actually. Looking at RDU's hand, Trade Prince Gallywix would be a very good play here on turn 6 for Hyped, because there's a lot of spells in hand.
Oh yeah, that's very bad for RDU. Probably we'll see the Ancient of Lore on turn 7, but he will still have to find a way to deal with the Gallywix, and he will definitely not have an easy way to do that. Second Mech Warper.
He's probably going to save that and try and get value off one of his other mechs. I think
that's very true.
He possibly has the Pilot Sky Golem and things like that, or even the Iron Sensei and the Arcane Nullifier are quite common in the Mech Rogue. Is he going to play the Micro Machine?
I think he just played the Gallywix.
Yeah, definitely. That feels like the best line of play here. It doesn't feel like good Mech Warper value to even play the Mech Warper Micro Machine.
Better than playing the Mech Warper, which is playing Azure Drake, but yeah, you go with the Gallywix here.
No. Yeah. And the Gallywix, Oh, and Doctor Boom coming out for RDU. It's
This
on.
this is one of the cards that actually is really good in this situation. You will get a lot of damage, but at least you will have some means to trade with the Gallowix.
Sure. As I was just going to say, it's an absolutely perfect pickup for RDU. And Ancient of Lore in the hand on turn 7 is almost always an auto play, but Doctor Boom is one of those few exceptions.
But man, there's the loaded MVP of Impact versus Fenrir this, but
Fenteris.
Yeah, sorry, but it just does a lot of work here. Unfortunate bomb for RDU.
So much damage already gone in from hyped. RDU down to 10 health and does not get what he wanted from those bombs at all. He's
Yeah.
gonna have to heal with the Ancient of Lore here, and that always feels like a bad play in terms of tempo when you're not being able to use those Ancient of Lores to draw cards. And speaking of card draw, there's a sprint into hand for hyped.
Well, you can still play the Azure Drake and top decked as Eviscerate, so you can just
Wow.
kill your opponent right here with that Eviscerate.
Well, a fairly quick kill here for the Mech Rogue, and hyped is gonna go 1-0 up. And it's gonna be down to the Freeze Mage of RDU to try and topple this Mech Rogue.
So
Um,
Freeze Mage against Rogue and Druid, right?
yeah, Freeze Mage has to beat the Druid and this Mech Rogue. And if I remember rightly, Impact Hyped is playing a very unusual build of Druid, a very aggressive Druid build as well, which may cause Freeze Mage some problems.
That's for sure. That's for sure. That might be a problem. But still, there are some chances for RDU to win both games with the Freeze Mage. It's still a very powerful deck, which can catch people off guard.
Indeed, we've seen in other tournaments like the Vigame House Cup the work that RDU can do with the Freeze Mage. He's actually very, very, very good with that deck and being able to play it. And we talked about it a lot in the first 2 days with Noxious. He was coined the phrase that Freeze Mage a lot of the time can feel like you're playing solitaire because you're just trying to draw into your win condition and set up your board in a way which allows you to win in one turn. It can be a very, very it can almost feel a lot like Miracle Rogue in that no matter what you're doing, your opponent is just playing their own game, and it's all about them drawing what they need to draw. But we're going to see how this Freeze Mage of RDU works out. It's going to be very, very important for him to get the Mad Scientists and get the value on those secrets, because that's very, very important for being able to withstand an aggro onslaught. He's going to get his ice blocks up fairly early so he can withstand any onslaught and just try and absorb as much damage as possible. Double ice barrier can be very important in this matchup as well.
That's very true. The mad scientists are one of just because of their tutor ability to catch the cards from the deck. Like when Nextmas was introduced, Mad Scientist was my favorite card from the set. Like it felt insane for me that you can just pick a card from your deck and get it instantly into the board.
Okay, so here we are. We're into the game now, and you can see the Arcade Nullifier and the Bomb Lobber that we didn't see in the last game. Bomb Lobber, a very interesting choice. Don't see that in too many competitive decks. It's very, very good in Arena, but what do you reckon to the Bomb Lobber in this kind of deck?
It's like an additional eviscerate. That's really
Sure.
cool. Well, for sure, it doesn't really kill your opponent's face, but situations when you can easily clear the board with Rogue to control it with backstabs and attacks with the dagger, when you have chances to maximize the chances of dealing the 4 damage from Bomb Bobber to a creature that you really need to.
It might not get too much work done in this matchup because there aren't a huge amount of minions from the Freeze Mage that are going to come out.
That's
But we could see it maybe being used to help kill a Doomsayer or something like that later on. But Hyped was looking at the coin there for maybe a coin piloted Shredder. How do you feel about that as an opening play?
I think you should do it.
He does have the option of backstab and even backstab SI7 to try and clear this acolyte of pain.
There are 2 strategies to deal with the acolytes. You can either just deal 3 points of damage instantly, or you can ping it 3 times to overdraw the mage, but this is not the moment to overdraw the mage for sure.
And there's the mad scientist coming into hand, and that comes straight out. That's going to be hugely important. No secrets in hand, so he's going to get maximum value off these. Arcane Nullifier, that can be very useful in this matchup with a lot of spells.
Very true.
I'm going to see the Backstab SI7 to clear the Acolyte of Pain, and the Rogue dealing with these threats fairly well, but maybe we can hover over that secret and see what it is. Ice Barrier
Ice
from
barrier.
the attack.
Yep.
So that does come down. Pretty unlikely to be playing any other secrets other than Ice Barrier and Ice Block, though you occasionally see a duplicate or a mirror image.
For sure. He's fishing for a Frost Nova here. It's really important to get it with Doomsayer, because otherwise the Doomsayer will be dealt with very quickly with the minions on board.
Absolutely. I mean, we do see some situations, like I think we saw yesterday, that a Doomsayer was able to kill an Undertaker because there just wasn't the damage on turn 2 to kill it. But at this point, the Rogue, particularly with the damage that Rogues always have in hand, you need the Frost Nova to get any kind of effect off the Doomsayer. And Arcane Nullifier is going to be a creature that Doomsayer is going to be one of the few ways that the mage can deal with it effectively.
Yeah, that's very funny. Oh, there's the Frost Nova. But I think you hold on it and just to deal with more creatures. But what are the other options? He has 6 points of mana, so that he can just play Mad Scientist. But if you do play Mad Scientist, then you don't play Doomsayer. So yeah.
If he's going to go with... You're going to go with the Doomsayer Frost Nova here. That doesn't feel like a great Doomsayer Frost Nova, though, because he's only going to be actually clear 1 minion off the board. And there's the Bomb Lobber. But not enough damage for Hype to be able to kill that Doomsayer, so he's going to just have to let it go off.
Is he playing Sap? Sap, I mean? Check it. Yeah, he's playing 1. So that's not enough to draw it.
Acidic Swamp who's coming down there. So he is going to have a minion on board to actually deal with this Mad Scientist if he wants to.
There's the Ice Block 1 in hand, so it's really important to get these on the board from the Mad Scientist right now, so you will be sure that you will live 2 turns at least more than your opponent can.
Just looking to check if he's playing... he is playing 2 Ice Barriers, so he's not going to be in a situation where he wouldn't be able to get a secret of Mad Scientist if there was only a single Ice Barrier. But there is a second one. And the Bomb Lobber coming down here. So that's going to kill the Mad Scientist, and that could be either an Ice Block or an Ice Barrier. We'll maybe see.
Oh, second Doomsayer, this is really important.
Yeah. So the second Doomsayer is down there. We don't have another Frost Nova in hand or a Blizzard or anything, but the second Fireball, the 2 Ice Lances in hand, the Freeze Mage is starting to build up that damage that we talked about, and starting to get to that point. I think he probably needs a Frostbolt or 2 to come into hand now.
Yeah. Now, I think Hyped wants to deal with the Doomsayer, so most likely we'll see the Nullifier, Eviscerate, and Dagger.
How do you feel about using something like an Eviscerate here on a Doomsayer? It's just soaking up so much damage that you really would probably want to keep in hand if you were the Rogue. Yeah,
that's very true. It's like the same situation in Hunter. When you use a kill command on a Doomsayer, you're really in a bad position.
And there comes the Alexstrasza. Things are starting to get very, very scary for Hyped here.
Now, when a mage does a thing like this, you're probably dead anyway.
But the Loatheb is going to come down, so that's
MVP for the 4th time today.
Well, I mean, Loatheb is almost always an MVP, but even with all those taunts up and Divine Shields, that's not going to stop the attack of the mage. But he's not going to be able to do that damage this turn because he doesn't have the mana thanks to the Loatheb. But he's just going to go for a single Fireball.
That's still okay. Like, he has going to give him an Ice Block in his hand. What can you do?
Sure, with the second Ice Block in hand, it's going to be Fireball, double Ice Lance, and that's going to be enough for RDU to take this matchup against the Mech Rogue. I
Now we'll
believe.
see a very... Oh, they will be triggering right now, right? The bombs, or not?
No, they don't. They just don't
Oh,
spawn. And there's not even enough
perfect.
damage to pop that secret because I'm not too sure if that is an ice block. Though
I
I'd
was
assume it
sure that the bombs would trigger in a situation like this.
doesn't even need the fireballs and ice lances because Pyroblast is enough for RDU to win that game and take it to 1-1. So we're going to see the Druid have hyped against the Freeze Mage here. Just checking in to see if we don't have any other scores to bring you. But 1-0 here, we're going to see the Freeze Mage taking on the Druid. Very impressive performance from the Freeze Mage, just drawing into what it needed to deal with the threats of the Rogue. Up for a great lethal with Alexstrasza.
Yeah, that's very true. RDU had the luck to draw both Mad Scientist early game, but still he took anyone in hand. So I feel like he had the upper hand in every situation.
Absolutely, and as you say, the Mad Scientist is very important. The Alexstrasza turn 9, Pyroblast turn 10 is such a devastating combination, and he wasn't actually able to play it on turn 10 because of the Lotheb, so it was a turn 11 Pyroblast this time. But the Alexstrasza Pyroblast, something that was phased out of Freeze Mage for a little while, is definitely making a comeback just because of that 1-2 punch.
Yeah, that's very true. I still remember the times when I was playing Aggro Mage with 2 Pyroblast for 8 mana. That was ridiculous.
8 mana Pyroblasts. Well,
Yeah.
it's, Fireball is 6 for 4, so Pyroblast is 10 for 8. Makes sense. No, it doesn't. Oh dear. Those were the bad old days. But Pyroblast still a very, very important card. It's one of the most horrible ways to die, I think, in any match. But
You know,
face.
it's a barn card. It's like a mind. Sometimes it can. Sometimes you will feel worse when you're being mind controlled. It's also 10 mana, but you will lose a card. Maybe not the game, but still, it can feel bad. Now RD will have the worst matchup for him, which is the Druid. If that's the double combo Druid, then Hyped can have the. Then the matchup can be for Hyped's fate in Hyped's.
Well, if it's the same druid he was playing yesterday, it's a hyper aggressive death rattle focused druid.
Well,
So it'll be
if you
very
use
interesting.
the keyword hyper aggressive, then I can say that it can do well against a freeze mage.
It's certainly very aggressive as far as druid goes. I mean, we'll see what. Okay, we're going to bring you that final game very, very quickly. The deciding game in this series between the druid, between the mage and the druid. In fact, you can see we're just getting things set up here. You can see the players getting ready as well. The wonders of the spectator mode you're going to see here.
Yep.
It certainly makes this a lot easier, though it does have its issues. But the spectator mode, a big part of bringing you these tournaments, and an innervate straight into hand for hyped. That's going to make a huge difference.
Now he has to get a turn 3 or turn 4 drop, or an Undertaker with Hunted Creeper.
Or a series of 1s and 2s, yeah.
The one thing I like Undertaker Druid is that you have 2 ways of getting a good opening hand. The same is with Mech Druid with Mech Warp.
Sure.
Innervates or Undertakers or Mech Warpers or Wild Growths. So depending on the deck you build, you have 2 ways of getting a really good hand.
Sure, you're up. And you make the make sure it makes a lot of sense because of the ramp mechanic and fits very well. But as you say, it's all about getting good start in these druid decks, the faster druid decks. But we see the Mad Scientist, Acolyte of Pain, Loot Hoarder, lots of early game options for the Freeze Mage.
Well, a really bad opening for Hyped, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's not what he wants.
Maybe if you will draw into second Innervate.
No, that's not going to help him. Do you have to Wrath the Mad Scientist for 3 here?
I don't think you do. Like, you can. There are two possibilities. If you anticipate the same outcome as the match before, so Alexstrasza your face, you don't really care about your health totals if they are above 15. But in this situation, we'll have to see what hypes will develop into turn 3. Oh, there's a Harvest Golem, so this is a really nice pickup.
For sure, that does give him something that he can play on the board at this point. And does have a swipe for turn 4 as well, which would clear both of these minions. In fact, clear the Acolyte of Pain as well. So I think we'll probably see the swipe here because it denies 2 of the Acolyte of Pain draws as well.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. Well, maybe he will use Wrath and Hero Power safety. No, you don't want to save the swipe or anything. That's the best you can do with a swipe against a Freeze Mage.
Sure, I mean, when else are you going to be against a Freeze Mage with 3 minions on board?
Yeah.
So you see the Frost Nova in hand there, the Ice Lance, the Fireball, the pieces of the puzzle starting to come together for RDU. Just opts to pass with a Hero Power this turn. And it's going to be an Innervate Dr. Boom, most likely.
This is really brutal. If you will draw into a Savage Roar next turn, and there will be still like at least 3 creatures, this will be insane amount of damage coming to RDU's face.
He actually has a great curve out of this as well. Pilot Sky Golem on 6 and then Ancient of Lore on 7. Things are panning out really well for Hyped here. After what was a horrible opening hand, he's actually curving really, really well into the late game.
Yeah. Now the problem is that missing the key Doomsayer.
He is missing that Doomsayer, but does have the Frost Nova to delay Ice Lands to even do damage if he wants to use those. But he's gonna he's gonna pop his own Explosive Sheep here, maybe. Explosive Sheep, something we're seeing teched into a lot of these Freeze Mage decks. He's looking at Frost Nova instead.
That's very, very clever, actually. Now there is no way of using the Savage Roar, no way also of like putting more minions on board, because maybe the mage will have a Blizzard, and what are you gonna do then? So it's really interesting.
Do you think you go ahead and do you drop the Piloted Sky Golem here, or do you maybe opt for the Sludge Belcher instead?
Maybe you can pop the ship yourself and then play the Piloted Shredder.
That's true. That's an option with the Innervate. In fact, you can Wrath for 1, which looks like what he's going to do. Get a card draw and then use the Innervate to play his own Pilot Sky Golem. So the bombs are going to go to face here, and only 4
points
damage.
Of damage. Well, only for 3. I mean, there's still a 7/5 creature on board.
This is true. It's not as good as 8 damage, but it's better than 2 damage, so I'm sure he'll take the 4 damage.
To be fair, RDU got 2 points of damage with his bombs this game.
And are you going to go ahead and use the Fireball on the Dr. Boom? One of the things that Freeze Mage and Face Hunter have in common is they don't like to use damage on minions if they can afford to. They like to keep it for the face. One of the odd similarities between those 2 decks. But Ancient of Lore coming down here, and in fact that was a top decked Ancient of Lore because the second one was already in hand.
Oh, that's late to the party.
Just late on the Doomsayer there because the Frost Nova already gone. What is RDU looking for here? Is he going to ping his own Thalnos just for card draw?
I don't think so. It will be dealt with next turn. Unless there will be a keeper to silence the Thalnos.
Well, there's an Undertaker and actually Harvest Golem Pilot Shredder on turn 8.
I don't think you want to play all those cards on your turn 8 when there can be like a Flame Strike.
Sure, and actually, if with the ping on the Ancient of Lore down to 5/4, that could telegraph that could be RDU trying to say to show Hype that he has a Flame Strike when he doesn't. Could be a little bit of mind games there. RDU trying to say, hey, I'm setting up for a Flame Strike here to try and prevent more damage coming down on board. But he does go for the Undertaker and the Sludge Belcher instead. Pops the Ice Barrier.
Well, Flame Strike doesn't have any value at all at this situation when there's the Belcher on board and this Piloted Sky Golem. So now RDU will be pushed to use the Cone of Cold on the Ancient of Lore, which still means that there will be 3 points of damage from the Belcher, and when Hyped will combine that with the Force of Nature in his hand, then he will be, oh my god, that's exactly lethal.
No, that's one off lethal.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's 1 off lethal, 5 damage from the Sludge Belcher. But I mean, if you're Hyped, do you maybe just push it in? Because you can win with your hero power. But Alex Straza's going to come down and heal him.
Very, very tough.
Oh,
tough decision to make.
that's such a tough call.
RDU didn't have a ice block yet. I think he would play. He would have time to play it in the turns before. So most probably, maybe he will opt to play that combo right now. He will still get 2 creatures on board after the Doomsayer. So maybe he feels like, okay, I'm good with it because I will have still 3 creatures more in my hand. I can fill the board afterward. Even with Alex Straza, you will still have like 5 points of attack on board. So I think it might be okay to combo now.
I think he's considering using the Force of Nature, but he's putting the Harvest Golem out there, which is interesting. I guess he's going to get a 2-1 out of that, but what do you think about the Harvest Golem coming down there? He manages to kill the Doomsayer, uses the Force of Nature instead of going to face, so does keep his board alive. And actually, with Savage Roar, Hyped is going to be in a very good position here.
Well, the Savage Roar is crucial in this situation.
Absolutely, but looking at the damage in hand for RDU, he doesn't have anything to really kill these minions. He has another Doomsayer, but that's just going to die. He only has a Frostbolt in hand and some Ice Lances, and that's not going to be enough to clear the damage off this board, and I'm pretty sure that this game is going to be won for Hyped.
Most probably. RDU have no options here. No Ice Block, no way of evading the lethal incoming next turn. So maybe he would like to try, if there would be an Ice Block some turns before, he would just make the same move as the game before with Alex Straza, Hyped's face, and then go for lethal with the Frostbolts and the Ice Lances. But this is not the case in this game.
He's going to use these Ice Lances to clear and try and just deflect damage from his face. But he's just going to he's going to stall with them.
This is an awful situation. There's no way RDU can win this game.
No, it's not quite lethal with the Savage Roar yet, but it is getting very, very close. He's going to go Roar actually, and is he, I assume, just going to clear? So he can use the Hero Power and the Harvest Golem to clear the Doomsayer, and that'll be the second Doomsayer that has failed to go off for RDU. That's going to be absolutely devastating.
Yep.
And a huge amount of damage on board.
And there's no easy way to clear the board for RDU, so even with a Flame Strike, there will be still 4 creatures actually, on board.
Those Death Rattles would be absolutely insane, but that is going to be it. RDU is going to go ahead and concede, and Hyped is going to take this game 2-1. So Hyped doing very, very well indeed. RDU did win his first game, but is now 1-1, so he's going to have a match against Dart later on today, which is a difficult matchup for RDU. He's going to have to win that one if he wants to progress. And so that's our second matchup. Looking at other matches, in an upset, My Settings beating Green Sheep 2-0. Green Sheep, who had come in with a 6-0 record and advanced to 8-0, now drops his first game of the tournament. Pause My Wham and